I never grew up with educators that look like myself. So I
100.
feel like honestly, like we are that new wave that make being wise, being smart, being educated cool, right?
Absolutely.
Wisdom is a powerful tool, but oftentimes we might neglect it because of who it's coming from. You feel me? But if we can chop it up with a young buck and really implant a seed, man, like it's more than just education at that point. You know what I'm saying?
What's going on, beautiful people? This is Let's Grow Together podcast, where diverse individuals and communities come to serve, connect, and grow in areas that they're most passionate about. We back at it again, Marcus. Let the people know how you feeling today.
What's going on, family? As always, good to tap back in with y'all. Had a phenomenal week. Boy, it's a PTO week, and I feel like I'm working more than I do on the clock, man. But we get it in productive as always. Recently just had a session, right, around love. We completed our love series. Man, my biggest takeaway, I had a young buck, bro. It was probably like middle school. We asked him, what are a couple of characteristics of a great relationship? Brett said transparency, communication, good vibrations. I said, boy, who didn't talk? I'm
Hey,
talking
who is this young man parents, man? Hey,
Hey,
shout out to them parents.
bro, I said, yeah, bro, you single? But I'll finna plug them in, man. But again, always great hearing the young bucks, the good energy. Today, man, was able to go do a radio show with Hope County, get the word out there a little bit more for some of our programs we got going on. Had the board meeting, just stepped off that. So, bro, just a lot of productivity going on, man. A great week, and again, I always decided to share some of this energy with the squad. What's up with you and the gang?
Hey, man, you pumped up, piped up over there, bro. Y'all going crazy, man. Shout out to you, getting on the radio, sharing everything that Roots got going on, man. Very similar, man. Blessed and highly favored as always, man. We just had a dope couple sessions earlier today, man. We finishing up teaching the kids the law of attraction and the law of vibration, and it's so dope to go from day one where they're like, "What is this? This sounds like hocus pocus," to them actually seeing how it translates to real life and their emotions and their actions and their thoughts, right? But then, man, the organization, we got something fire in the works, man. I've been dropping little stuff on my story about the process, but man, we're about to make a big splash. So I'm super excited about that. Can't really speak too much on it, but we got some dope partnerships coming up as well, man. So super excited, man. Looking forward to continuing to grow with those brothers.
Hey, tell them turn on the notifications. It's coming. I love to hear it, man. We're actually prepping for our financial literacy course this Saturday as well for college and high school students. So again, our money box workshop. This will be the first of many. So yeah, man, I love to hear the work being done on behalf of the next generation, man. We got to keep it going. And again, that's spot on with our guest today. So I'm actually introduce y'all to my brother, man, GB, aka Grant Bennett, guy over the 26 Project, and a whole lot more, man. So Grant, come off mute and tell the people what's going on with you.
Beautiful people, man. It's man. I'm so excited to be here. I'm speechless. I've known Marcus now for a little over, I think, 2 years now. That's crazy. But super excited to be on. Just met James, man. So super excited to be talking to y'all about the work that I get a chance to do, man. And just super excited to be along with some amazing brothers doing some amazing things.
Awesome. We're excited to have you, man. Tell the people a little bit about your background, and we'll dive into Google from there.
Yeah, man. So again, Grant Bennett. Pretty much everyone calls me GB, man. It's just the name. Originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina, so grew up here. Played baseball most of my life, man, and was blessed enough to receive, multiple offers to play the game at the next level. Had a crazy conversation with one of my childhood heroes, being J. Cole, around my offers at the time, and it was between A&T and Morehouse. And I remember when I said Morehouse, he was like, "Yo, like, you should go check it out and just go see it." You know what I'm saying? Like, and took that trip to Atlanta, bro, committed literally on site, man. Obviously graduated from Morehouse, man, got a chance to play ball down there. Was a psych major. But above all else, man, I was exposed to a lot of different things, including the psychology department in terms of research, man. So I got a chance to do some research programs, which led me to an internship at Google, which is now my full-time role, man. I work as a diversity strategist at Google. I've been there for a little over 2 years. Um, Outside of that, man, obviously I'm a 2020 graduate, so pandemic hits, I moved back home. I've always kind of had this idea to start a nonprofit back in the city and work with marginalized youth, man, really around exposure opportunities. And there was no better time to sit down and focus than 2020, man. So me and a lot of my childhood homies, we got together, man, and used all of our different exposure opportunities and networks to put together something called the 26 Project, man, where our mission is simply, man, to just have intentional exposure opportunities for underrepresented youth in Fayetteville. Since then, man, we've been able to do amazing work through our Emerging Leaders Program, partnering with brands such as Charlotte Hornets, Dreamville, Nike, really all around giving these kids just ample opportunity to see things outside of what we traditionally see in our neighborhoods, man. And that has been my life work. That has been the thing that I've been passionate about. I'm 25 now. I started the project when I was 21. Getting ready to take about 30 students, 40 students tomorrow to Atlanta, man, for a 3-day exposure trip, man. So literally just embedded in the work, man. It's something that has come from my family, man, for generations, just in terms of investing into the community, which obviously led me to me and Marcus, man, a couple of years ago, just in terms of the synergy of the work. So super blessed again to be here, man. And hopefully that was a good little brief bio on who I am.
Nah, definitely. So again, one thing that always has captivated me about Grant is just the passion, right? And one thing, it's kind of our insider, right, is the North Star. So I would love for you to give a little bit of insight about what North Star means to you and how that ties into the youth and what you work with.
Absolutely, man. The whole concept of this North Star was something I learned when I was working at Google, man. I was trying to figure out what my boss is talking about in terms of our North Star, like our goal, our end thing, like the thing that we're always going to guide and lead ourselves to. And then I thought about the historical context of what the North Star really means. I was like, all right, bet. So try to translate that into my everyday life, right? And just being a North Star. The North Star to me is simply is that just the consistent alignment in terms of the thing that is going to be the barometer for what we do, right? At the end of the day, everything we do, if it doesn't align with whatever the mission is, right? And for the 2-6 project, it's like, again, exposure opportunities for underrepresented youth. If it doesn't align with that, if it's not intentional, if it's not something that falls within that North Star, man, then we really don't touch it. And it's just a thing that like keeps you honest on the work, on the people you're trying to impact. And then obviously, in our work in terms of our ego, man, making sure that we're not doing things for the camera, not doing things to make it seem cool, but doing things because it's the right thing to do and it's within the mission and why we started doing things. So yeah, that North Star has been like me and Mark, that insider, man. It's been the key thing in terms of our decision making process with the 2-6 project.
Man, first and foremost, GB, I wanna give some kudos to you, man, because you've identified something that we hold dear to our heart too, that a child can't be what a child can't see. So part of what our organization, the Greater Good Foundation, does as well is we provide at-risk youth with unique experiences as well. So I think that it is super dope that you are able to take the 2-6 project and expose these youth to these different things because sometimes you don't realize it, but some of those kids may have not even been out of the city limits, from whatever city that they live in. So giving them this opportunity, they probably had never had an opportunity to even see it. So man, shout out to you, man. And obviously, man, it's big that you partner with Nike and Dreamville and J. Cole. Like, bro, that is phenomenal, especially for you to have just started this not too many years ago. But man, I just want to ask, 2-6 Project. That's a very unique name. Like, what does that come from?
Yeah, bro. First off, man, I appreciate all the love and acknowledgement, man. It means the world to me. Um, so man, 2-6 is really the city, right? So really 2-6 is the prison code here in Fayetteville. It's something that we kind of coined as like the phrase to be like, you from Fayetteville, if you're getting sent to 2-6, you're getting sent to prison in Fayetteville, essentially, bro. The city kind of took that and made it like our moniker, bro. It's kind of like just the thing that everyone says. If you're from the Ville, you're from the 2-6. We're the 26th, I think, county established in North Carolina, right? So it just became kind of a city thing, but it usually has a negative connotation. When you hear people 2-6 and it's really the sirens that go wrong, you know what I'm saying, when the police come, right? So all me and my homies wanted to do was take that connotation that usually is something dealing with something negative in our community and make it positive, right? So when people think 2-6, they think of the exposure, they think of all the different kids, the talent, you know what I'm saying, that is coming out of our programming, man. So if you hear like Cole said, and he's usually referring to the city, and all we wanted to do was try to take the moniker, man, and make it something positive, bro.
Look, everybody gonna be like, oh, that's what he was referring to now, right? that was some inside game. That was one thing that I was exposed to in college. Like, why everybody in? What's up with all this B noise? You know what I'm saying? But again, it aligns with this city and something that you definitely just fall in love with from a cultural standpoint. But again, man, shout out to 2-6 Project, and again, shout out to everybody on this call. As I mentioned, man, we are young Black men who are pioneers of the next generation. Like, and I don't think we give each other enough kudos and really give each other our own pats on the back. With that being said, not only seeing a need for something and being the change, But again, being a true testimony in the fact that we look like a lot of youth we service, we talk the same lingo and the same jargon we do. And I know that that's what makes our program so successful, is that relatability, right? Being able to expose individuals, but also be true to yourself in the midst of it is really what helps build those long-lasting relationships. So one thing that I know you're really big on, bro, is partnerships. As you mentioned, some of the different things, right? There might be a lot of other nonprofits or individuals in spaces who have resources. They don't know how to really leverage them, man. You do a phenomenal job at that. So what insight would you have around when it comes to partnerships from a business standpoint?
Absolutely, man. I think the first major thing that one of my mentors told me was, a lot of people think you got to like reach out to people you don't know, and they don't take advantage of the people and the resources that are around you currently, man. And I think the thing that I was able to do was really lock in on the people that I knew who were in position or in certain spaces. Um, and most of it is looking at partnerships through the lens of a relationship and not with like an end goal or some type of means or result at the end. To be completely transparent, a lot of the partnerships we had have been with or been through relationships that I've had in the Ville since I was a kid, right? If you're talking with the Charlotte Hornets, honestly, that came through my brother Dennis Smith Jr., who I was his backup point guard pretty much all of our life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought I was trash at basketball. I didn't just realize bro was a lottery pick. You know what I'm saying? But like, just knowing June, you know what I'm saying, and him coming home, just the timing and the synergy was there. It was nothing but God. Again, the cold connection, right? Just in terms of me being a kid. One of my mentors from Morehouse ended up becoming like the head of HR for Dreamville, and the connection was just there, just off the strength that he was able to connect those dots. When I think about organizations, one, make sure too, when you're thinking about it, know what your value add is. I think we never enter a partnership where we don't add value, right? So it's never a point to where these companies are sitting like, we got to lift these kids or we got to like put them in a position to succeed. It's kind of like, no, we have some really talented kids. We have a really dope organization. We're a really hyper local niche in terms of the things that we're looking at doing. And a lot of these big corporations need stuff like that, right? So I think just not being scared or looking at a brand and saying, we don't know how to get there, but really doing your due diligence, seeing who's in the room, seeing who you know that can potentially put you in a position to be seen. And I think that last piece, bro, and I think this is probably the biggest thing, bro, is just because someone tells you no, or just because you don't hear a response doesn't mean that's the end of the call or the relationship, right? I think a lot of times we get discouraged by sending that DM, right, to that big brand, or sending that email out to, or sending that LinkedIn request, right? Whatever we can do to connect with that person or that organization, and we're discouraged when the response isn't, positive or something that we want to hear. Instead of looking at it as a way to pivot into either what's even more aligned for your organization or a different way to approach the partnership, right? And being able to add that value add when you approach them early is extremely critical, man. So hopefully, those are some helpful tips on just how, at least I approach partnerships, and the way we've been able to kind of scale across the different relationships we've been able to build over the years.
Nah, GB, that's beyond valuable for our listeners, because when we first started the organization, like, we were just doing the work. Like, we were so focused on doing the work, making the connections, going out to networking events, doing just bumping elbows with as many people as we could. We were going to Chamber of Commerce meetings. We were, like you said, looking at those low-hanging fruit. Because I think a lot of times, like, people are swinging for home runs, but man, just try to get to first base. You know what I mean? Like, try to get in a space where people at least want to hear your unique value proposition, because I think that's super important. But I like how you identify, like, man, these are partnerships. Like, these are partnerships. Like, it is a two-way street. Like, we are adding value to them. And I think that when you do the work and you do that, like, they'll literally reach out to you like, man, we got a group of kids, man. We need a group of kids. We got this Foot Locker event that we're doing. Because, like, man, I remember, when we had the opportunity to take 30 of our kids to the All-Star game when it was in Chicago, like, just because of some of the work we were doing with a local Foot Locker and a couple other folks as well, like, folks reached out to us and was like, man, we need some kids. We got plenty of kids. And like you said, like, these kids have a tremendous value. So we were able to put them in position to literally get on the court with Donovan Mitchell and do the skills challenge. So, how like folks be on the little bikes riding around doing their thing. Like, some of our kids got to do that just from simply some of the relationships that we had. So I think that partnerships was spot on. Something me and Marcus talked offline about was you being a professional storyteller. Talk a little bit about that, because I would love to hear your perspective and a little bit from you on that.
Absolutely, man. Was blessed enough again to go to Morehouse. Was blessed enough to be mentored by Dr. David Wall Rice. Dr. Rice is the professor that interviewed J. Cole when he came to campus in 2015. He's the first professor that I ever met, and the class was on storytelling and the connection between modern media and psychology for Black men and Black boys. The concept itself let me know that I needed to be in that vicinity, right? And to be able to still be a mentee of his to this day has been transformational. Those courses ultimately taught me the connection again of psychology and storytelling, and how life narratives ultimately create these psychological unities, these psychological connections for people. And that if you're able to tie in stories into anything that you're doing, bro, it's just going to enhance branding, right? So storytelling became a big thing for me. Was blessed enough again to have a research background, right? So that's how I got my foot in the door in terms of Google, right? I still do research and analytical work to this day. What ended up happening was my boss, who's the chief diversity officer of the whole company, was like, yo, this kid is doing a bunch of cool stuff outside of Google. Instead of like giving him and feeding him all this analytical work, let's test his skill to see where he could help kind of better explain some of these new insights, right? So the pandemic's relatively new. I'm the youngest person on that team still to this day. And they didn't have a way to really translate findings and insights, man. So I kind of got my first taste corporately through that connection, and then kind of was promoted into being, you know, a storyteller in that way from a diversity strategy standpoint, man. So it all really stems from, my time at Morehouse, the research I was able to do at Vandy, UNC Charlotte, Stanford, all of those summers, man, and just translating all those things into a professional skill set, man. So, I think that's pretty much the lineage of that train of thought.
Hey, now that's dope, man. Something that we talk about in our organization is that facts tell, stories sell. And I feel like everybody has a story that they need to tell. And especially with our youth. Like we all talked about working with at-risk and high risk and marginalized youth. And the sad part is they don't see that they have a story to tell or that they have value. So being in positions of influence like we are, I feel like we have to empower them to use their voice and tell those stories. So I didn't even know there was a class in college about storytelling. So I think that's super phenomenal.
Yeah, very unique. Never had that class. I would have took it though. But even just being, well, I can run it back. So just from a personal standpoint, I chose to be a marketing major because I want to learn how to market myself. I looked at it as being able to tell my story, right? We didn't have the entrepreneurship realm, but even just being in sales now, I've learned at an early age and a early in my tenure that people buy from people. They buy from the story. They buy from the emotions in which they feel. So being able to really tie in the corporate component as well as the community component and really tell the story of both and how they are both mutually beneficial seems like you've definitely mastered, man. So kudos. And that's beyond necessary to other people in this realm to be able to just, again, tell their story, but really be able to captivate individuals, because those are the people who are going to buy in and really invest in what you all have going on from a movement standpoint. Now that's super dope. Again, I always hear you talk about mentoring, right? So again, ironically, we all have mentoring groups where we're all developing and pointing to others, but we're still being poured into on a consistent basis. How helpful have your mentors been in developing you as you develop those up under you?
Man, it's everything. Like I'm starting from, just my spiritual connection, with God, just that walk for me. Um, Being blessed enough to be a Black boy with a present father, right? Just changed the whole trajectory of my life, right? And having someone who, I saw wake up every day, strap his boots up, regardless of if he liked his job, to provide it for his family. My pops is a huge baseball coach here in North Carolina, man. I say my pops probably put 150 kids in school in terms of playing baseball. A Black man doing that in Fayetteville is almost unheard of, man. He's a legend. So, in a lot of ways, just seeing the way he took care of people inspired me to want to be that, to someone else, right? Um, you're talking about academically, professionally, whatever. I think in a lot of ways, mentorship is everything. And I find myself now, um, in a lot of ways, man, maturing, because, I think, I started mentorship or mentoring, probably as young as like 15, 14, whatever, but like it changes over time. And I think you change over time, and the way your perspective changes over time. I think the biggest thing I can say I got from my mentors is how to evolve and how mentorship evolves and what it looks like to be engaged as a mentor and mentoring as you kind of progress through your life. I think my perspective on it is a lot different now at 25 than it was at 21. When we talk about like the 2-6 project and how hands-on we need to be and how hands-off we need to be, and in what ways can we be the most intentional around that, man. So my mentors kind of gave me the perspective That one, it just evolves, man. And I'm blessed enough to, receive it, and then again, pass it forward and pay it forward through all the work that we do.
No, that's spot on, man. We preach mentorship, man, because without those mentors, those guiding forces, we wouldn't be who we are today. And I love how you acknowledge that, man. Mentorship is it's man, it's not a destination. Like it's always moving, it's always changing. And man, something that I had to learn in my journey as a mentor is like support looks different depending on the person that you're working with. So I love how you identified that, and even that there's been growth within ourselves in this mentorship journey. But I want to ask you, how important do you think it is to have mentors that look like us?
Again, man, that's everything. Like I said, man, I had a black father, and I mean, we all grew up in, I ain't even got to talk about our environment, but like my dad was like 20, 30 people's dads, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't realize that at that age, but like I had homies who never saw what a black man looked like that took care of his family and spent time with his kids, you know what I'm saying? And went up and went to work. Just they had never seen that, you know what I'm saying? So for me, just being able to see my dad in a lot of ways, bro, really just changed my entire life. And again, I mean, bro, I went to Morehouse, bro. If you want to think about any destination in the world, that premise is very like vital to the entire history of what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? I think Morehouse would be that destination. It would be that school. And it's a huge reason, bro, on why I went there. It was the first time I tangibly saw a group of brothers wearing suits, and not like church suits, but like real fitted suits. These dudes was like getting ready to interview for Goldman Sachs and stuff. Like, and I'm 17 from Fayetteville, and I didn't even know what a Goldman Sachs was. You feel me? Like, there was all these different things, and I think being in that space forced me to like not necessarily become a mentor, but understand presence means a lot to these young people, especially the ones that look like you. So in a lot of ways, like we talk about these exposure opportunities, I'm sure, and everyone's doing it, just seeing us provide that opportunity for them, you know what I'm saying, in a lot of ways, shows them in a lot of ways that they could be in that space just by providing an opportunity, not even us being in those spaces. So it means the world to me in terms of, having people that look like me mentor me. But I know that's why it's so important that the work we're doing now, just being visible in that way.
Nah, it's so vital. That's one thing we hold ourselves near and dear to, is being able to not only relate to, but look like and provide a tangible example of. Because to your point, man, we don't know what they see at home. And oftentimes that's why mentorship fails, because it's not a holistic 360 approach, right? You're pouring into them, they're going right back into a toxic environment where they have to code switch. So again, I also know you mentioned your pops, man. I know your pops is that guy. He is him, right? James and I have similar stories just when it comes to, right, my grandfather being the first black principal of Asheville, being the pioneer, having rec centers named after him, going to somebody's crib, they saying who your peoples. I mentioned his name and they pulling out a chair and a plate. You know what I'm saying? So having that legacy and being able to build upon that gave you that core foundation to be who you are, but to understand that it is a community. It is bigger than just us. I know in my youth, I saw my dad be everybody else's dad. At one point, I had to catch myself. I had to have a conversation with my ego. But when I realized, and we sat down and we talked about it, and he mentioned, yo, you have this opportunity. They don't, right? Don't be jealous of that. Understand that your cup runneth over and you need to share it for that reason. And again, bro, that plays such a vital role in how I maneuver. And I can see it definitely applies to you as well. So I would just ask you, man, as we get ready to kind of conclude, though, like, what's next for you all, man? How can people tap in with you? How can they be a asset to you in the program going forward?
Man, I would tell you, man, this is the most delicate season our organization has ever been in. And I'll say it's because it's the most delicate season I've ever been in my life, bro. Just bought a new house, right, in Atlanta. Like, I literally just moved out of the city. Um, in a position now where I'm starting to see the fruits, of the work we did, 21, 22 years of work, 22 years of age on the ground. And my perspective is a lot different than it was at 21, which has forced me to rethink and reimagine what this 2-6 project thing can mean to people in the community, bro. So I think my original goal, bro, to be completely honest with you, that North Star, we kind of blew that out the water to the point to where me and the team have to really sit back and reimagine this joint, bro. So like, what's funny is we're taking these kids to Atlanta tomorrow, and that was the pinnacle of what we wanted to do, to be honest. Like, to be completely transparent. If we could get a group of 40 kids from our side of town for 3-4 days in the A, that's something that no one has ever done from our side of town. It's something that like I haven't heard or seen in the city, connecting with brands like Google, whatever. Like while they're down there, like that to me was the pinnacle. Part of the thing I'm learning now as I'm going through these transitions is like, in what ways am I going to take care of myself to take care of everybody else? Because that's the thing I forgot when I was building this thing, right? So to answer your question, bro, I'm still learning in terms of what the 2-6 project looks like in terms of next steps. But I think whatever it is, bro, is going to be probably the most beautiful chapter of it, because it'll be the most intentional and the most thoughtful. You feel me? It won't just be a youngin trying to do the work. It'll be a man with some intentionality and some thought behind pushing all these different levers, bro. So I'm excited for that. In terms of connecting with us, man, you can follow us on IG, man, at the 2-6 Project. We got a Twitter. We don't use it, but we got it. 2-6 Project. You find us on Facebook, man. Find us on our website, www.26project.com. You follow me on my page, obviously, at Benny, BENNE_NC. Doing a lot of amazing things, man, through the organization. And I'm really, 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 really proud of you, Marcus, bro. One, for this platform. You too, James, bro, for just building this platform for people to be able to come and tell their stories and connect, man. And I love the name in terms of just Let's Grow Together. But most importantly, man, I think, again, kudos to y'all, bro, for the work, bro, because it is not easy. And it's something that people don't talk about. We're so strong in a lot of ways, bro, to where we do all this stuff, man, and we look back and there's no love in it, bro. People don't realize we're not making hella money off this, bro. Like, we not feeding our families for real off the work that we're doing, bro. But it means so much to us that we're willing to put everything we have behind it, bro. And I commend y'all, man, because it's a small group of people who really understand what goes into putting out what we do. So super, super, super grateful, man, for y'all having me on, man. And just, again, I put my contact information out earlier, man, but just super excited to be a part of this group, man, to be honest.
Hey, man, appreciate you, man, for giving us our flowers, man, because as me and Marcus always say, man, we rather give people their flowers while they're here where they can smell them. But you were just talking about like the start of your 2-6 project, and it really had me thinking about back in 2016 when we first started the foundation. Like, bro, to be completely honest, like, bro, we just, had to jump off the porch. We were seeing that so many of our youth were dying in Chicago that we were like, bro, we have to get out here and do something. It was literally like similar to how you said you wanted to take a group of 40 kids to Atlanta. Like, we had a vision to take, a group of, 15, 20 students to Niagara Falls, and we did that. So I love how you were aware to be like, man, I got to take a step back. As me and Marcus talk about disconnect and reconnect, and really just be like, okay, what am I looking to do with this foundation? And it's funny because we're in that same process right now. Like, we've been operating a nonprofit as a mentorship nonprofit, but this is a company. You know what I mean? And we're at a point now where we are literally trying to holistically develop a community of diverse individuals. Me and Marcus talk about this all the time, but like, bro, like when we say like we want this to be global, like this is not something cute that we just doing as a pastime. Like you said, it's a lot of love, a lot of grind, a lot of sweat that went into this, man. And it's not a lot of people that's genuinely doing the work, man. So as much as you appreciate us for doing the work, man, we appreciate you, man. And we appreciate you blessing the podcast with your story, because it was powerful.
Hey, the work ain't gonna stop. Again, it's not really a lot of people sitting here clapping, cheering in the beginning stages, but at the end, I always saw that in you, boy. You know what I'm saying? You gonna get them uncles that come out the cut. Like I told them. Nah, man, but I laugh. It make me smile. And we actually had a conversation recently about ABC goals. You basically crushed that C goal, and now you're redefining it, bro. So like, kudos to you, man. And again, I think it's so vital for us to be able to give each other flowers and genuinely mean it, right? And it's all out of love. Because even though everybody's doing the work for the right reasons, this is a competitive space. Some people get in their feelings and egos get in the way, man. And that's not what it's about at the end of the day. So again, kudos to both of you all sincerely. Again, we'll make sure we blast that information so people can tap in with the 2-6 project and continue to build, man. James, go ahead and close us out, good brother.
Yeah, family, man. Again, this was another dope episode of the Let's Grow Together podcast. You can find the podcast everywhere you get your podcast. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. We appreciate all the feedback that you guys will give us. And man, tap in with the podcast page at Let's Grow Together Pod on IG and TikTok. You can find me on IG at jturner0121.
And again, you can find your boy Marcus Jenkins, aka Mastermind Marcus, at Mastermind_Marcus. We look forward to tapping in with y'all soon. Be blessed, family.
Peace.